Most people believe the economy reacts to behavior, that it responds after decisions are made, after risks are taken, after patterns become visible. This belief creates a sense of agency, the feeling that choices shape outcomes in real time. But modern economic systems rarely wait for behavior to appear. They move first. They set conditions quietly, adjust incentives in advance, and allow behavior to follow along paths that have already been narrowed. This episode is about the system that moves before you do. Adjustment before action. Economic change is often described as reactive, a response to inflation, to instability, to public pressure. But beneath the surface, most adjustments occur long before they are publicly acknowledged. Interest rates begin shifting expectations before they change numbers. Lending standards tighten before credit disappears. Risk tolerance recalibrates before markets visibly contract. By the time change feels sudden, it has already been rehearsed. The system does not wait to see what people will do. It adjusts first, then observes how behavior conforms to the new environment, how conditions are quietly set. Rather than issuing commands, the economy shapes conditions. Access becomes conditional. Costs rise slowly. Requirements multiply. These shifts are rarely framed as directives. They are presented as neutral adjustments, technical necessities, or routine recalibrations. Because conditions change gradually, they feel natural. People adapt without realizing adaptation is happening. What once felt optional begins to feel unrealistic. Choice remains, but its range shrinks quietly. The power of early movement. Those closest to financial decision-making rarely wait for confirmation. They reposition early, before pressure spreads. Exposure is reduced, assets are shifted, risk is transferred outward. This movement is not visible to most participants because it happens upstream. By the time changes reach everyday life, the advantages of early movement have already been captured. What looks like foresight is often proximity. Being closer to the mechanism means moving before consequences arrive. Why most people experience change. Late distance from distribution delays awareness. People further from institutions, policy signals, and capital flows experience change only once it affects prices, access, or security. At that point, adaptation feels reactive rather than strategic. Late arrival is often mistaken for poor judgment or lack of effort. In reality, it reflects position within the system. Information does not reach everyone at the same time, and timing determines leverage. Friction as guidance. When movement becomes undesirable, friction increases. Process is slow. Documentation expands. Approval becomes conditional. These obstacles are rarely described as barriers. They are framed as safeguards, compliance, or best practice. Friction discourages motion without prohibiting it. It filters behavior quietly. Those who accept it remain within the system. Those who resist absorb cost, delay, or exclusion. Guidance is delivered without instruction. How behavior is anticipated. Economic systems rely on patterns, not surprises. Most people respond predictably to uncertainty. They seek stability. They reduce exposure. They defer risk. The system counts on this. By adjusting conditions in advance, the system shapes outcomes before decisions are consciously made. Choice still exists, but the environment favors certain responses. Behavior follows the path of least resistance. The illusion of reaction. When people finally act, their decisions feel reactive. A job change, a delay, a retreat into safety. These choices appear rational and self-directed, but the range of available options was already constrained. Reaction feels autonomous because preparation was invisible. The system does not need to force behavior when it can prearrange it. What feels like response is often compliance with conditions set earlier. Why speed matters more than effort. In economic systems, speed often outweighs strength. Moving early requires less energy. Moving late requires endurance. Those who act after conditions harden must push harder for smaller gains. This creates the illusion that success is about resilience alone. In reality, timing determines how much resistance must be overcome. The system rewards those who move before friction accumulates. Stability as a signal. Stability is often interpreted as safety. But in many systems, stability signals that adjustment has already occurred. Calm does not mean nothing is happening. It often means the most important movement has finished. Once new conditions settle in, they become the baseline. People normalize them. What once felt restrictive begins to feel ordinary. The system does not need to maintain pressure once behavior aligns. The cost of waiting. Waiting feels prudent. It feels cautious. But in systems that move ahead of behavior, waiting often means arriving after options have narrowed. The cost of delay is not always visible, but it accumulates quietly through lost flexibility. By the time clarity arrives, leverage is gone. Decisions become constrained not by lack of effort, but by lack of timing. The system does not punish waiting. It simply moves without you. Why this feels invisible? Because adjustments happen gradually and upstream, they are difficult to observe from within everyday life. People experience outcomes without seeing the setup. Prices change, access shifts, opportunities disappear. The cause feels distant or abstract. This invisibility preserves legitimacy. If the movement were obvious, resistance would follow. By keeping adjustments subtle, the system avoids confrontation. Behavior adapts without needing explanation. Seeing ahead of movement. Understanding that the system moves first changes how events are interpreted. Crises feel less spontaneous. Shifts feel less random. Patterns become easier to recognize. This is not about prediction or control. It is about orientation. When you stop expecting the economy to react after the fact, its actions become legible. The silence feels less passive and far more deliberate. This is another layer of the invisible economy. It does not wait for permission. It sets conditions, narrows paths, and allows behavior to follow. And once that pattern is seen, the system's quiet movement becomes impossible to ignore.